All right, I'm going to mention some of the players who have entered the transfer portal, and Craig and Paul can kind of react to them because they would know a lot more about some of these players than even I would, although there's some names. For example, Davis Brin from Tulsa has entered the transfer portal. Quarterback there, Philip Montgomery fired. The quarterback wants to look elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you just said it. His coach got fired. So, yeah, I mean, Davis Brin's a nice player. When he was healthy, he certainly made a difference for Tulsa, although didn't have him, there to close out the year and still walked away with a big win. So, Phil Montgomery, I feel like who's going to do a better job than he did ultimately? I know it's kind of year after year after year of, kind of middle of the road, I guess, sort of results with a couple of high points in there. But I think that he did about as good a job as most people are going to do in Tulsa. So I'm curious to know sort of what their expectations are. If it was simply like, hey, we just feel like this has ran its course and we've done this and we've given him 2-3 extra years, then I totally understand that. But yeah, Davis Brin's a nice quarterback, and I don't think he's going to be somebody that's flashing on the radars of like some massive program, like a big step up necessarily. But I don't know how he'll be gauged. He was solid though.
Michigan quarterback Cade McNamara, we just saw Michigan's star quarterback with what he did on Saturday. He now knows the future. He has entered the transfer portal.
I should say as well about Tulsa is that Houston also limping into the Big 12 next year with the way this season has gone for them and losing to Tulsa in the finale. But, Cincinnati not alone in that regard. BYU also firing their defensive coordinator. They're also making a change there. UCF are, I guess, really the only one untouched sort of as far as –
well, they got a game this week, yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying there's already a DC's out, a head coach's not a head coach's fired. We're talking about Tulsa there, but Dana Holgerson's already on a hot seat shortly into his tenure. Yeah, it's going to be interesting that DC's out and Provo, as I mentioned. Sorry.
All right,
but Cade McNamara, I think, can help somebody. It's got to be, again, he's probably got a good situation where he can step in and be a leader on the team. He's not spectacular, but he's a good player.
Sims, the quarterback at Georgia Tech, has entered the transfer portal.
Yeah, he was a 4-star prospect coming out and was actually committed to Florida State for a really long time, and then they fired Willie Taggart and he changed his mind. I think
who got fired again this weekend?
Yeah, who got fired again this weekend at FAU. I think that if Jeff Sims, from what I've seen of him, and look, his career is 30 touchdown passes, 23 interceptions, and that's not a great stat line. But he's really athletically gifted. If he went to the right coach, he could have a Bo Nix type situation. I'm not talking that, exponent, but he could grow and really help somebody, I think.
Yeah, you got to stay healthy. That's his biggest thing from this year. But yeah, he'll definitely be somebody that some teams look into.
Old Dominion running back Blake Watson had 2,400 total yards, 16 touchdowns the past couple of years in the Sun Belt Conference. Running back from Old Dominion has entered the portal. Those are the guys that really, this year we saw some of that happen, and you could see where they could compete no matter what the level, now that you get a little idea who they are.
Yeah, I think, he's got a shot to go up into the Power 5, and I bet you his offers will be pretty nice, considering that stat line of 2,400 yards in 2 years.
Caleb Schaefer, offensive lineman, Miami of Ohio. Here, Max Olson, hard to find experienced offensive lineman. 35 starts for Miami of Ohio has entered the transfer portal. Luke Altmaier, we saw him in the bowl game, enters the transfer portal at Ole Miss.
No surprise there. They had every opportunity to play him, and they've decided that it's not their guy, clearly. Yeah. So, yeah, that's not a surprise.
Jackson Dart played really well.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that I know he played for a team, and Spavital got fired. But Hatcher, the quarterback at Texas State, has entered the grad transfer portal. As a grad transfer.
Yeah, he was
pretty good player.
Yeah, he was also previously at Arkansas State and played there for a while, and then went to Texas State. I mean, he's a fine player. He's a good player. I don't think he's going to be a big shockwave type of addition for anybody, but he's a solid enough guy.
Malik Hornsby, Arkansas, quarterback. A lot of quarterbacks. What you look for, though, if you can land the gold with one of them, and some teams did this year. To me, the meat and the potatoes are the linemen and those type of players, and there's just not many of them available.
This is what everybody forgets with the whole transfer portal thing, or I'd say everybody forgets, but a lot of people forget in the whole conversation about the transfer portal is like, oh, yeah, we should go to the transfer portal. We need to get some offensive linemen. We need to get a couple of receivers. We need to get a tight end. Okay.
It's not 7-Eleven.
So does everybody else.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of other teams need all of those things too, and if not more. And so, yeah, I need a running back. Well, 15 other schools in 500 miles from here also need a running back, and they probably like the same guy. So, I mean, you can need what you need. Yeah, at the grocery store, like I need a certain kind of noodles, but they don't have them. They don't have them. Like, or if somebody in front of me grabs them first, they grab. You know what I mean? Like that's out of your control. So you can't just think that the transfer portal is going to cure what ails you, because you have to probably outbid somebody for the top talent, and then the other talent you're still fending off people left and right. And at any moment, somebody could swoop in and say, "Here's $1 million from Ohio State or whoever." So, yeah, that's a nice thing to have. But I think that's why you still have to be able to recruit. Even if there's the risk now, those guys getting poached and all that, you still got to be able to recruit deep down to fill some spots, because you can't just think the transfer portal is going to be, like Paul said, like 7-Eleven where everything's available. That I'm going to go get a receiver here, get two O-linemen off this shelf. Like you wish it was that easy, but it's not.
Cy-Fair's, LJ, are you going to add something to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. And the other thing is now, I think year one of getting Cam Wards and Jared Verses and guys like that, some schools, like, they can sneak under the radar, right? Cam Ward went with his offensive coordinator, or his head coach that became the offensive coordinator at Wazoo. That's probably – Matt Rule's talking about it at a press conference today. That's over now. If you're an FCS guy who puts his name in the portal and you've got the stats of like a Cam Ward or a Jared Verse, you're going to get more than 2 calls like those guys did. The reason they wound up in the place that they did is most coaches were like, well, he's at Albany. Who gives a crap about him? But now they're like,
he went to Florida State and was maybe the biggest play of the year for them, man. One of the biggest. Yeah. LJ Johnson, running back, former highly ranked running back, had offers from everywhere. Came down to, I think, A&M in Texas. He's entered the transfer portal, didn't get many carries. Other than Devin H.A., nobody else did, who had a monster game against LSU. So he's entered the transfer portal from Texas A&M, and he's not the only one.
Yeah, him and a bunch of his teammates.
Yeah.
I wonder how much that win over LSU stems some of that off, but I feel like that was already kind of there.
I've actually been surprised, not at the number. I think the numbers about what it's a little less than I thought. I thought it might be a big, and it still could grow.
Still be, yeah.
Still could grow, but there have been several guys that have come right out and said they're coming back to A&M, which I was
Could Saturday at least calm the storm a little bit?
Well, I mean, look, and they fired the offensive coordinator this morning, so if you're an offensive player, you think that that's going to change, and especially if you're one of those quarterbacks. I mean, I would think Max Johnson's probably going to stay, but, and Connor Wigman's the starter going forward, but Haynes King, I mean, what does he do?
Are the checks still cashable?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, can we be real about the situation? Where are you going?
Yeah.
You going to take a pay cut to go play somewhere else? I mean, look, I understand some guys can afford to say, we'll get back into the talent pool and we'll get even more money or whatever, but I mean, let's be real about it. Those guys aren't under ironclad contracts by any means, but I don't think they're all looking to jump off the money ship by any stretch, at least for the guys who were – a part of that. And I think certainly some of those who are entering the transfer portal are. I mean, it's going to be made out to be bad, and it was certainly a bad season overall, but I do think they saved some face with that win over LSU, and I do think the checks are still coming in probably. So as long as that's going on, I think that you've got a stronger than no chance to keep a lot of the remaining guys, but we'll see.
All right. Do you have the Broyles Award graphic?